Hey there, let's dive right into today's explainer and expose what is probably the most expensive yet completely invisible revenue leak happening in your service business right now. If you run a small business, especially in a really high-touch industry like senior care, you absolutely know how hard you work just to get the phone to ring. You're pouring money into marketing, you're building relationships, earning those hard-won referrals. But there is a silent crisis happening right under your nose. It's draining your potential revenue, and honestly, the worst part is you probably don't even know what's happening. So today, we're going to look closely at the actual data behind an unanswered call, figure out why it's literally costing you thousands, and check out an incredibly simple 30-second automation that can fix the whole shebang. Okay, I want you to picture a scenario that is probably all too familiar. Imagine you're fully present with a client. You're right there in the room doing the exact, highly specialized work you were built for. I mean, this is exactly why you started your business, right? But while you're giving that client your undivided attention, your phone starts ringing. You just can't answer it. It'd be completely unprofessional to step away. So you let it ring, naturally assuming they'll leave a voicemail and you can just call them right back. Well, believe it or not, what happens in that specific moment is actually the most expensive event in your entire business day. Because here's the harsh reality of that moment. That caller, they were a warm lead who had finally reached the absolute moment of action. They found your number, maybe through a trusted referral, maybe a quick Google search. They decided they needed help right now, and they called you. But because nobody answered, that momentum completely shattered. We live in an era of instant gratification, and the data tells us they don't leave a voicemail. They don't wait around for a follow-up. They just hang up, stare at their screen, and immediately move on to the very next direct competitor on their list. Just gone. That brings us to section 1, the most expensive moment. Let's see how one single missed call actually snowballs into a massive, systemic crisis for small business owners. The numbers here reveal a pretty brutal reality for small service businesses. Get this, a staggering 62% of incoming calls go completely unanswered. More than half. Over half of the people actively reaching out, practically begging to give you their business, are just met with endless ringing or some automated voicemail greeting they're never going to respond to. Now look, when you're running a lean operation, wearing a dozen hats, and trying to serve your current clients, missing calls is kind of inevitable. But when 62% of your inbound opportunities are hitting a brick wall, you are operating at a massive structural disadvantage. And this number right here brilliantly illustrates just how severe this problem really is. 85%. 85% of those missed callers will literally never try dialing your number again. This isn't a situation where they'll just, try calling back after lunch. No way. Once that call goes unanswered, those prospects are gone forever. They've already moved on to whoever actually picked up the phone. So when you combine that 62% missed call rate with this 85% abandonment rate, you really start to see the terrifying scale of the lost opportunity. Moving into section 2, the invisible revenue leak. Let's talk about why this massive financial drain goes completely under the radar for so many exhausted business owners. It all comes down to the fact that there's no voicemail. Because these callers hang up in silence, this loss is entirely invisible. Think about your current systems for a second. If a lead fills out a form on your website, it goes straight into your CRM. If they send an email, there's a paper trail. But an unanswered phone call with no voicemail, it never even hits your CRM. It doesn't create a pipeline stage for you to track. It's completely missing from your end-of-month reports. On paper, this lead literally does not exist. But in the real world, a high-value lead just walked away and handed their cash directly to your competitor. You're probably losing sleep trying to figure out how to generate more leads, totally unaware that a huge chunk of them are already calling you and just slipping right through the cracks. Let's put some real, tangible financial weight behind this. When we look at a senior care business, the stakes are incredibly high. A single senior care client relationship is typically worth between $3,000 and $12,000 in annual revenue. Let that sink in for a moment. Losing just one of these callers because you were tied up for 3 minutes is definitely not a simple operational hiccup, and it is certainly not a rounding error. It's actually the single most expensive line item in your business. And because of the way our systems work, nobody is even looking at it. You're essentially burning thousands of dollars a week in total silence. So what do we do about it? That brings us to section 3, the 30-second fix. The crucial part is stopping the bleeding. And honestly, it's surprisingly the easiest problem to solve. The good news is you don't need to go out and hire a full-time receptionist to stare at the phone 24/7. The fix is just a tiny window of time, 30 seconds. By sending a single automated text message directly to the caller's mobile phone within 30 seconds of that missed call, you drastically change the outcome. You're intercepting them in that critical make or break moment right before they have a chance to pull up Google and dial the next business on their list. You break the momentum of them leaving and pull them right back into a conversation with you. The whole system is just beautifully simple. You don't need some complex AI or a really annoying, drawn-out automated phone menu. It's just 3 quick automated sentences. First, you state your business name so they know exactly who is texting them. Second, you simply acknowledge that they called and you missed them. And third, you invite them to reply by a text or ask when might be a good time to hop on a call. And that's literally it. That simple, human-sounding text satisfies their immediate need for response. It tells them, hey, we hear you, we're here, and we can help. It totally stops their search for a competitor dead in its tracks. Finally, Section 4, reclaiming your lost leads. Let's take a look at the staggering return on investment you get when you implement this simple safety net. When you look at the data for businesses that actually turn on this missed call text automation, the results are nothing short of incredible. This microscopic shift in your process, just firing off those 3 sentences automatically, recovers 30 to 60% of those previously lost leads. Instead of hanging up and calling your rival, they text you back. They turn right back into active, booked conversations in your pipeline. You are literally pulling 30 to 60% of your lost revenue right back from the brink, and you didn't even have to lift a finger or answer the phone while you were busy. And honestly, the economics of this fix are arguably the best part. For less than a single dollar a day to run this automation, most senior care businesses are suddenly reclaiming massive, massive amounts of revenue. We're talking about recovering anywhere between $8,000 and $40,000 every single month in leads that used to just vanish into thin air. It is so incredibly rare in business to find a solution that costs pennies but yields thousands of dollars in direct, measurable returns almost instantly. Because this invisible leak is so absolutely critical to the survival and growth of service businesses, silvercore.io handles this entirely differently than other software providers out there. They build this 30-second text automation directly into the very foundation of your system. It's not just another random little feature buried deep in a settings menu that you have to somehow remember to turn on. Nope, it is the very first thing they set up for you. Why? Because the missed call is exactly where you are losing the most money right now, today. Fixing it immediately gives you the fastest, most impactful win for your bottom line. So I want to leave you with a direct challenge today. As soon as this explainer ends, I want you to grab your phone and open up your call history. Just count how many inbound calls you missed last month. Then multiply that number by the value of just one of your clients. Ask yourself, how much is this invisible leak truly costing your family and your future? If you're ready to plug that hole right away, go check out the demo at silvercore.io. Do not let another high-value client slip away just because you were busy doing the work you love. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.